school you went to, but of course we know we have private, we have government, then we have what we call traditional schools. I'll not mention them, traditional schools. And among the traditional schools, we have the top 10. I'm talking about schools that have been here for a period of 100 years plus. And they still dominate space when it comes to bringing well-packaged, learned individuals. Did you go to traditional school? Did you go to any of those schools? Of course, with modern day, we have schools that are so luxurious, have very good buildings, but we are talking about the top masters in education. Now, this weekend, which is going to be the 30th of September, one of those schools is going to hold what they have termed as Mwiri Old Boys Association Homecoming 2023. They'll be celebrating 112 years of leadership and influence. Talk about the schools that really is among these schools. Even when you mention government ministries, you'll find them dominate. Prominent people, you'll find them dominate. And I'm humbled to have the president, Mwiri Old Boys Association, with me, Dr. Daniel Ronald Ruhweza. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, and greetings to all those who are watching and also listening in to this program.
You could have added those that went to the school.
And also those who went to the school, those who are married to those who went to the school, as well as those who are children to those who went to the school.
Okay.
Yes. Now, greetings to all Ugandans.
A brief one. When you talk about Mwiri Old Boys Association, what is it all about, and what are you engaged in? Is it just saying it's an association of people who went to Mwiri? Because many schools, even the schools, have those associations.
Yes, when we are talking about Mwiri Old Boys Association, like many other associations, those who have gone to the school, and in this case we talk about both Busoga College Mwiri, as well as Mwiri Primary, which is down at the hill. Those two groups of old boys who form that association. We have associate membership from teachers as well as well-wishers. We have constitutional arrangements for them to be part of us. The reason why we get together, first of all, is to reminisce about the good old days, plan for the school, and even for ourselves. So, for example, we have a league, a football league, Mwiri League, you probably heard about it, where we go to continue exercising our bonds. But we also have an investment club where we collect money, and one of the things we are doing is to support the ability to help families of those who are bereaved. And also in case someone needs financial assistance, to be able to do that. The other thing that we do is we have an endowment fund where we collect money to support indigent students or pupils who are unable to make it when it comes to financial arrangements of school fees, tuition, and things like that. But most importantly, inspiration of those who are still at the school. The young learners who are there need to be inspired. So we go back, we speak to them, and we are very strong and convinced about the power of mentorship to these young people. Because when they see those of us who have gone through and have continued to survive and thrive, then they get encouraged that they too, regardless of their background, height, skin color, they can also still be able to make it at the end of the day in life. As you know, we are living in this volatile, uncertain, and complex, ambiguous world, and you need someone to hold your hand And therefore, as old boys, we go back to hold the hands of these young learners, but also to hold the hand of the school. So, for example, we support the school in different projects. We, for example, roofed the main hall, the mess, the dining hall. We removed the asbestos sheets that we used to have and replaced them with more healthy iron sheets, iron roof sheets. We are planting trees. We are renovating sports grounds like basketball, table tennis. You know, one of our hobbies is an Olympic medalist in table tennis. We are very strong on cricket as well. The other thing that we are trying to do very seriously is to support the Board of Governors and the head teacher in renovation of the dormitories or the houses that are being resided in by the students. So the old boys from who went to those different houses, for example, I went to the Great Wako House, we come together, collect money, and renovate those houses so that the place, the accommodation is good enough for the students. Professor Nawangwe, who is Vice Chancellor of Makerere, right now is at the helm of leading renovations at President's house. That was his house. Just to remember, he is an OB of Mwiri. So those are some of the things we are doing. And now our signature project, like I said last year, starting from Mwiri at 111 years, has been rebuilding the school gate and also renovating teachers' houses. Why do we renovate teachers' houses? When teachers are living in comfortable residences, they are able to deliver better because the state of health, living and accommodation and housing is much, much better. So those are the two projects we are emphasizing: renovating the school gate, teachers' houses, rebuilding the school gate, renovating the teachers' houses. And you know, the road right from the main road right up to the hill was tarmacked. We thank the government of Uganda for that. There is a small portion that is going to be completed. So we are very excited. We even have our guest of honor coming. Maybe I don't know if I should mention that. Our guest of honor is none other than the Minister for Works and Transport, General Edward Katumba Wamala. He was, by the way, raised for some time in Jinja. So he's very fluent in Lusoga. So you can't abuse him in that regard. So he's coming, and we are excited to have him.
Now, this is going to happen this Saturday.
This Saturday,
the 30th of September, where the old boys will go back to their home, which is Mwiri College. But let's first understand of what relevance is this. Why is it important that old boys should go back to their schools?
Yes. You know, they say monkey see, monkey do. When old boys go back to the school, speak to the young people, have lunch with the young learners, have conversations, tell them how they survived in life and how they are surviving, how they are raising their families. Sometimes we even go with our wives and children. That view of a successful Mwiri old boy or a thriving Mwiri old boy is very powerful. So we go back for that reason. Let the young men see us. Let them approach us. Let us approach them. Let us talk to them so that they know that they too can survive in this world. But two, we need to go back to see the state of our school. What is missing? Where can we make our unique interventions as old boys? Is it in painting? We have some painting that is going on right now in the main hall. Is it in tree planting? Is it in, we have an old boy who is pushing basketball. We have interventions in rugby, in football, in cricket. So when the old boys come, everyone is able to see what is happening and what they can be able to infuse. By the way, We even have a group called Friends of Mwiri, United Kingdom. These are former teachers or children of former teachers of Busoga College Mwiri, mainly of the English origin. So they've also supported, they come to the school, they are supporting co-curricular activities, they have repainted and renovated the main hall, put a new ceiling and things like that. So when we go back, those are some of the things we do. But we can't ignore the fact that we also go back to renew our ties, you know, to renew our ties, remind ourselves of how far we've come, and even open up business opportunities with one another. What are you doing? I'm doing this. How can we assist each other? And so on and so forth. So those are strategic ways. But maybe more importantly, in this age where the boy child has for a long extent lapsed behind, we as fellow men need to come in and support the teaching staff, the head teacher, Mr. Arthur Mbalule, the board of governors chaired by Engineer Muurike, to support, especially in the case of the boy child. You know very well, for a long time, the girl child has been elevated, supported. The process then
affirmative action.
Affirmative action. The problem has been that because it has been one-sided, the boy child has ended up losing. Is not confident, does not have a vision, mission, and purpose in life. Is living as and how he thinks, and so he needs bakoja. Those days you have sengas, the aunties who speak to the girl child,
senior woman,
and so. But you don't have men, the bakoja, the uncles, who come in and speak to the young men and tell them this is how to do life. I always have the mantra that Mwiri boys make the best husbands. It is simple to say that, but what is the practical necessity for that to happen? You see, so they need that. And as you have said, we are leading in, we are saying 112 years of leadership and influence. When you visit the parliament of Uganda, today, Mwiri old boys have the highest number of members of parliament. That did not just happen out of the blue. There is a history of emphasis on leadership, from Prime Minister Obote to Prime Minister Ruhakana Rugunda to ministers and senior members like Oriem, Honorable Oriem, to people like Henry Chemba, those specific leaders who have continued to inspire the culture of leadership. Then in influence, I argue that Mwiri boys probably make the highest number of pastors that this country has. If you do your math, highest number of pastors. So we are influencing in the church space, we are influencing in cricket, and if that is to be sustainable and spread across the country, then we need to go back and inspire these young men.
A quick one, just away from Mwiri old boys homecoming and all that. Now, today our education system seems to be changing.
Yes.
Some of the priorities of our traditional schools seem to be eroded.
Yes.
You've talked about issues of leadership, imparting leadership skills. You've talked about the sports element. You've talked about a fully packaged person. I've just been telling people that when we were growing up, we had a saying, if someone did something funny and they went to school, they would say, "Weisanga atasoma," meaning school wasn't about good grades only. It was about building your character, building your mental fabric, building even, and they would even say, "Tambulanga atasoma." There's an assumption that a person who has gone to school, he's very unique. There are even conversations they will never participate. There's a dress code they will never adopt to. Now, Mwiri is among those schools that we call traditional, that has, you've talked about best husbands, well, that is subject, but let's go with that. Now, there is this fear currently that now the world, the education system is focusing more on grades. And when results come out, you've seen best A-level performing schools. There is now a giant there. He has been there. Best A-level, there is a giant there. Not traditional. how as old boys are you doing it to keep mwili the mwili and the products of mwili reflecting the mwili of 50, of 100 years back, despite this fear? Where now, you know, people look at the best performing schools. I'm not saying mwili is not there, but they'll look for the best 5.
Yeah.
And the best 5 may not be any of the traditional schools.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a very good question. You know, this country has been blessed by very good schools. Nyakasura, St. Leo's, Chegobe, King's College, Budo, Gayaza, and so on.
That is the league.
That is the league. Huh? Most of the people who are influencing, you find that they have some kind of connection to one or more of those schools. So the first thing we have done as Mwiri Old Boys is to say that this journey, we are not going to walk it alone. So we are part and parcel of these old associations. The other day, Trinity College Nabingo called us for their sports day. Trinity College Nabingo Old Girls. And we went, supported, we are part of it, because we know that those girls are that they are inspiring need to be prepared for the boys we are also inspiring. They are the people who will be in charge in the next 10 years. All right? So partnerships. When Budo had its Founders Day, the old boys of Budo called us, the old students of Budo called us, we participated in their Founders Day. When Gayaza was doing its fundraising, we participated in its fundraising. All right? We pledged for Trikona and so on. When Kira College Butiki had its event, Mwiri Old Boys went and represented. Because we know at the end of the day we are Ugandans, we must work together. I may have some strength as a Mwiri Old Boy, but so do these other traditional schools. So we should not kill them. And that is why we are grateful to the Ministry of Education for putting a special slot and vote to support old traditional schools in light of the changing circumstances. So that's the first thing that we are doing. The second thing that we are doing is mentorship. I can tell you, my brother, I am not who I am without riding on the back of elephants that have come before me. Robert Kisubi, Engineer Tusubira, the former Right Honorable Prime Minister, Ruhakana Rugunda, and many of these leaders have given of their time and talent in grooming us. You get it? So we too must go back and do likewise. If old boys do not come, if old students do not come to support these institutions, then our education system is going to fail. I told you I wrote a book. I came here to discuss it some time back. We don't teach that at the university. The things you're talking about, character building, grit, and things such as that, building relationships, having value systems, purpose and mission, all these can only happen. Relational capital can only happen if we intentionally begin to inspire the young learners with these things. I was taught many of these things by fellow boys and and young men who kept on speaking. You don't do this. This is how you wear. This is how you dress up. You know, this is how you tie a necktie. You know, among other things. Yeah, this is how you blend your colors. You know, groom yourself, bathe, and so on and so forth. You get it? Now, those are things that you now find in the workspace. You and I had a conversation before we came here. If I was not taught to speak, you would be disgusted by me already and will fail to have even this conversation. If I was all full of pomp and clouds because I feel that nobody else went to school apart from me. You get it? So the traditional schools can be helped in that way. There is a young man, well, he's not young anymore, Samson Okwayo, who was my prefect when I went in senior 1. He's still a teacher at Mwiri. He kept on saying that Mwiri produces men and results. Some produce results, Mwiri produces men and results.
Let me go for a break.
All right.
We'll return shortly. Keep it with us.
Thank you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break, and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono with my guest, who happens to be the Mwiri Old Boys Association president, and we are talking about Saturday's event at the college, which is 112 years of leadership and influence, homecoming of the old boys. Well, if you are among them, please do not miss. Now, in the interest of time, allow me to look at what have you lined up for this.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. We are going to start the event on Saturday with tree planting. Mwiri is very passionate about the environment, and we need to inculcate that culture in the young men. So we'll start with tree planting. By then, the guest of honor will probably join us as well. We've partnered with National Forestry Authority, big up to National Forestry Authority, and we are getting support from Absa Bank, big up to Absa Bank, to do this tree planting event. Then we shall have a service, a church service, and the Right Honorable, the Reverend Dr. Bishop of Busoga, Samson Naimanye, is going to be the officiating celebrant at the 112 years service. After that service, we'll now transition into listening to the speeches from the different guests. Chairman Moba and others will come in that regard. Now, when that is done, we shall then have the time after the guest of honor has spoken, whereby we shall call for awards to be given to deputy headmasters and headmasters. Deputy headmasters and headmasters who have served at Busoga College Mwiri all through the years. We believe strongly that that is something we need to appreciate of the former leadership of Busoga College Mwiri. Yes.
Do some in-house. Let's go for a short break. I'll return with another guest to join me.
Thank
you. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Thank you for still being with us on UBC TV. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirabonyo, and with me, I'm now joined by the chairperson of the organizing committee, Mwiri Old Boys Association Homecoming 2023, where they will be celebrating 112 years of leadership and influence. That is Robert Kisubi. But on the other hand, yes, I'm still with the president of this association, Daniel Ronald Muhweza. Now, right, better late than never. Thank you so much for making it. Now, just take us through the events that are going to be happening on Saturday.
My namesake Robert, thank you very much, and as you said, better late, and my apologies for that. And we thank UBC for hosting us here today, together with my president, Dr. Daniel Ruhweza. And I believe he said most of it, but yes, the function does start at about 9:30 with all invited guests coming, and we should start with the church service at 10. The guest of honor would have come a little bit earlier. Dan, I'm sure you mentioned who it was.
I mentioned who it was.
Yes, so Honorable General Katumba Wamala, he'll do a tour of the school. He'll look at one or two properties that have been refurbished by the old boys. He will plant a tree, and then he'll join us at 10 a.m. for a service. Mwiri is a church-founded school, Church Missionary Society, 112 years, as you've all seen. And we look forward to that service with students, teachers, old students, and it will be presided by the Bishop of Busoga, the Right Reverend Dr. Paul Samson Naimane Mukembo. Yeah, and there'll be other activities therein. We have an endowment fund, we have an investment committee. The chairs of those committees will be saying something. The chair of the investment fund is Fred Muduli. The chair of the endowment fund is Justice Frederick Agonda Ntende of the Court of Appeal. The chairman of the board will be there. We will have ABSA Bank. ABSA have donated some trees and money to fund greening the entire hill. Mwiri is very beautiful. It's on a very beautiful hill, but it hasn't been devoid of encroachers. So we're partnering, the old boys are partnering with Absa Bank to green it with planting a lot of trees involving all the students. And as the president mentioned, we will be honoring all our former head teachers and the deputies. And then we'll have a keynote speech by the guest of honor who will be talking about leadership and mentorship. And he'll be really speaking to the students to get them to aspire to be to what many of the people they'll see in the hall on that day. Thank you.
Now, a quick one, President. Why must an old boy attend SAD's function?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
What do I stand to lose?
Yes.
I was at the school. It's made me what I am.
Yes.
Because I don't come.
Well, two events will happen after that speech by the guest of honor and the awards. First of all, you get to miss to have lunch, a very high quality lunch with the students. Many times we think we are worth less until we meet and sit around people who are eating every word that comes out of our mouth. So this is a great opportunity for an old boy. You may feel that you haven't succeeded in life. You may feel that you haven't become the billionaire you wanted to be. But whatever life experience you have, a great opportunity comes when you sit down with these young men to have lunch. 2, after lunch we'll have a cricket match between the young boys, the learners, and the old boys. And after that, we'll go down to the Mwiri Clubhouse, which is in Jinja, to celebrate 112 years. So surely that whole line of program is something that an old boy should not miss. You go away with value from, we shall even have some display of what the students are doing, you know. So you go away with value.
Especially with the new curriculum.
Yeah, especially with the new curriculum. Yeah, you go away with value of learning something, hearing from a great leader amongst us, General Katumba Wamala. You have an opportunity to also give of your life and experience to young people and have a full belly. You get to play some cricket and you get to celebrate downhill after that. So it's a day well spent.
So is this, there are certain things that you have to be very clear about. Is this a free entitlement to every OB? Is there a contribution? Yes.
I'll let the chairman respond to that. But yeah.
The old boys continuously give back to the school. So one, you don't have to pay to come. It's open. The Old Boys Association, and through its partners, has made sure that the event allows everyone to come in free. Because remember, some old boys are only 1 year old as old boys. So there's a big spectrum. So we encourage everyone to come. That is one. But then a lot of projects have been going on. So old boys have been contributing to those projects, and this gives them an opportunity to see, one, what their money has done, but also to see the other projects that are coming,
that are pending. Yes.
Yeah. So it's that opportunity. So it's a free event. I don't know whether free is the right word, but we know that it gives an opportunity for one to give back to the school.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the word giving back to the school.
So no old boy should be barred from coming, apparently, because you have to pay. No, you're all invited. This is your home. This is your school. But do not come with an empty wallet. I will be asking you to make a few contributions here and there. Yeah.
Now, this also takes me to another still important question. When you talk about old boys that you're expecting, I've seen the likes of namesake Robert here. He must have been there some years really back.
Yes.
Now, do we look at categories? You talked about those that were down the hill. Yes. Is there how long you were at the college? Because there are some schools, for you to qualify, you must have spent either 7 years at the junior and either 4 years or the extra 2, making it 6. But not I went through. Yes.
No, I think for us, if you've gone through Mwiri Primary School, and if you've been to Busoga College Mwiri, that means you hold an admission letter at one point in time.
Okay, yes.
That should be enough for us to qualify you. But even the teachers, I mean, there are some teachers who've taught at the school longer than some of us were students. We cannot deny them the opportunity to be part of such an event. Yeah.
So we don't discriminate. Once you've come, you've studied, you're in good standing, as indeed most old boys are. It's open. It's open. We've never had a problem. We've never, as far as I know in recent memory, ever had to bar or expel anyone from the association. Yeah.
And must I be a registered member of the association?
No, you don't have to be a registered member of the association, but we shall register you.
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
So there is an ongoing registration process every time we meet and gather. Because there are some old boys who probably have not been around or have been taken over by other events. Now they have come back, we've encouraged them to return. And so we keep on registering, we keep on renewing our membership roster. And so, yes, you don't have to have first registered to be with us, as long as you walked through the gates of either Mwiri Primary or Busoga College Mwiri, either as a student or as a teacher. We welcome you. Yes, some students, some teachers have had children who've stayed on the hill for a while, you know, and sometimes they've even gotten married to old boys somewhere from another space, and they come as well-wishers. Yeah, we invite them to come in that regard, because like I said, we believe that we are stronger together. Yes, it's only when it comes to other constitutional duties that we may have to have certain categories of who can do what and what, but otherwise we have categories of membership that we have encouraged people to be part of. Yes.
Well, time seems to be flying. The event is this Saturday at the college itself. Your parting shot, chairperson of the organizing committee.
At 10 a.m., the service will start. So we encourage everyone to be there early and be there in time. An opportunity to meet people they went to school with, others they just heard of, to meet a lot of big names, those who may want to meet our patron, Dr. Rakana Rugunda, those who may want to meet the Vice Chancellor of Makerere University, Professor Nawangwe, and so many others. The list is endless. This time, unfortunately, the former Chief Justice, Sam Wako Wambuzi, will not be able to make it. He sent his apologies. But it's an opportunity to meet as old boys and to talk to the young students. That is critical. Mentorship. This is about leadership and mentorship, and we encourage all the old boys to come.
Okay. As we move out of here, President.
It's I want to say three things. One, Mwiri has the most romantic view. If you want to see it, come with the Mwirian, let them show you where that view is. We boast of the most romantic view for any school in Uganda. Number two, all this we are doing according to our motto, kulwa katonda n'eggwanga lyaffe, or kulwa katonda n'eggwanga lyaffe. In English, for God and our country. We strongly believe that every time spent in nurturing young men and thinking together for the good of the nation is very important time, and you will find value in that time. So come, be inspired, as well as inspire others. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you so much, the old boys of Mwiri College, where I've had the president of the association. Thank you so much, Daniel Ronald, for having found time for this. And of course, the chairperson of the organizing committee. Unfortunately, I didn't go to Mwiri, so I'm not an old boy, but I think I'll come as a well-wisher.
Absolutely.
God willing. I can't miss the fun, the sharing of experience, rubbing shoulders with big shots in this country. And also, very important for me, is that mentorship. Speaking to the young men, we are at a time when many young men are losing track. There's something funny on social media where people are saying, Mama, abasajja twabavaako dda. They're showing men doing all sorts of funny things. We need to up our game, we need to mentor, we need to have men as well as results. See you tomorrow, God willing. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Did you know that the coat of arms of Uganda was adopted 3 weeks before the proclamation of independence by Uganda Legislative Council? On 1st October 1962, the arms were approved by Governor of Uganda, Walter Coates. The coat of arms has many symbols. The shield and spears represent the willingness of Ugandan people to defend their country. There are 3 images on the shield. Those on top represent the waves of Lake Victoria and Lake Albert. The sun in the center represents the many days of brilliant sunshine Uganda enjoys, and the traditional drum at the bottom is symbolic of dancing and the summoning of people to meetings and ceremony. The shield is flanked on the heraldic left side by a crested crane, the national bird of Uganda. On the right is the Ugandan kob representing the abundant wildlife. The shield stands on a green mound representing fertile land, and directly above a representation of the River Nile. 2 main cash crops, coffee and cotton, flank the river. At the bottom is the national motto, "For God and my country." The coat of arms of Uganda was formally established by law on 9th October.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
In this family, we can't agree on anything.
Martha.
We can't even agree on what to watch. All the games to play.
Martha.
Ndowoza Mulabi, we can't even agree on what to eat. At least the one thing for now we can all agree on is the soap to use. He likes that it's big and lasts long.
Anti-economy.
I like that it keeps my skin smooth. Ate alina echovu. And the children like that. It smells amazing. Everyone is happy. Movit soap comes in 4 fantastic flavors. Movit family soap is truly soap for the whole family.
Movit. All day confidence.
Water, please. Can I pay with Momo? No. Ha. Hey, can I pay with Momo? Ha.
Here's our merchant.
Oh, very good.
7 mega?
20. Can I pay with Momo?
Unfortunately, no.
Ha. Baby, let's go.
When paying with MTN Momo comes with more benefits for everyone, it just doesn't make sense not to have it.
Hello, I've come for rent.
Can I pay with Momo?
Yes, you can.
Pay or shop with MTN Momo and get cash back every week. It's free of charge. Use the Momo app or dial *165 *3#.
I got it. What do you mean you got it? Have you won a lottery?
Yes, this is kind of like a lottery to me.
Let me see. But these are your receipts now.
Yes, exactly my point. See, I had tax areas that had accumulated for a while now, and I was burdened by the penalties and the interest. But guess what? All I had to do was to pay my principal tax, and now I'm free.
What?
Yes.
How? I mean, it's impossible.
It is possible. The government has done it. Yes, the government has given a chance to all taxpayers to pay their outstanding principal tax that accrued until 30th of June with no interest or penalties.
But now they're really
Imagine, yes! So yeah, all you have to do is simply pay your principal tax and enjoy the waiver on penalties and interest. And this goes up to the end of December 2023.
How do I do that to also enjoy the waiver?
All you have to do is simply pay your principal tax to benefit from waiver on interests and penalties that runs till end of December 2023. Pay your outstanding principal tax using the available payment channels or simply dial *285# or visit the nearest URA office for guidance before 31st December 2023. Remember, this chance comes only once.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
Uganda is independent.
The 9th of October is a special day in Uganda. We remember our past, celebrate our present, and dream of a brighter future. It is a day to celebrate independence with pride and confidence. The 61st Independence Day celebrations under the theme Sustaining a United and Progressive Nation, Taking Charge of Our Future as a Nation, will take place in Kitgum District on Monday, 9th October 2023.
This week on UBC.
One of the products that makes Toro Assembly Wildlife Reserve unique are the dry habitat chimps. These chimps are unique in a way that if you compared them to the chimps that everybody knows, they are quite different because they are different behaviors that these chimps practice. And being unique, they are on the whole planet. You can find them here in Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, and Senegal.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
On Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Good evening and welcome to Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. With a population of about 90% being either Christian or Muslim, looking at 41.1 both Protestant or born again, 39.3 being Catholics and 13.7 being Muslim, 1.9 the others there. With the campus of the Quran and the Bible, why are religious leaders and religious institutions shunning the pains of ordinary Ugandans? We come to things like corruption, nepotism, education, pains of health. Why are they not answering these pains? With the recent inauguration being of Bishop Moses Odong, is this the silver lining that brings hope to every Ugandan? We take a deep dive in this story to find out if this is a silver lining or the dark cloud still goes on. Let's meet our panel.
Conversation with distinguished thought leaders spanning diverse religious affiliations. Introducing your panel, Apostle Grace Lubega, a distinguished senior pastor and founder of Phaneroo Ministries, Meg Manifest, Apostle Grace Lubega, an alumnus of Uganda Christian University. Reverend Kainon Diana Balo Mirembe Kensiga, a beacon of positivity with an infectious smile. She's not only an esteemed teacher, but also an Anglican reverend in the Church of Uganda. From 1992 to 2005, she served as a missionary in South Africa, offering counseling to educators, troubled marriages, AIDS-affected individuals, and families at large. She also served as a vicar at the All Saints Cathedral, Kampala. Reverend Kainon Geoffrey Byarugaba, the devoted vicar at the Church of Resurrection in Bugolobi, Kampala. He is a fervent advocate for change and has been elected as the chair of the Provincial House of Clergy. His unwavering commitment to his faith is evident through his service as acting chaplain of St. Francis Chapel and his role as national team leader of AEE, African Evangelistic Enterprise. Sheikh Juma Baket Chuchu, a respected Muslim cleric and National Secretary for Education and Sports at the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council headquarters in Old Kampala. With a decade of experience as a class teacher in various secondary schools, he's a beacon of knowledge. He's also one of the esteemed sheikhs chosen to deliver Friday sermons, Al-Khatwib, at the Gaddafi National Mosque. Professor Sarah Sally, your very own luminary, stands at the forefront of innovation and diversity in all matters. Professor Sarah Sally is the Dean at the School of Women and Gender Studies in Makerere. She brings a wealth of knowledge and perspective to the body of knowledge on your show. Join the conversation that inspires and uplifts Uganda only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Let's make the difference.
So you have met the panel, and the discussion is basically what are religious leaders and religious institutions doing about the crisis in this country. We talk about all the spheres and we wonder why they're not dealing with them or playing ostrich. You can be part of the show, text us or send us a message on 079 60 92 25. Let us know what you think, or go to Twitter, hashtag UBC Behind the Headlines, and you'll be part of this conversation. We'll be getting in some of your messages later. But before I get to the panel, one of the things I think I should say to a country as ours, congratulations, first of all, that 2027 we'll be seeing AFCON here. So that is very big news for all of us, and it is something that has come through. Except Professor Sarah, gentlemen and lady, you're very welcome. Thank you for gracing us with your presence here today.
Thank you.
And we hope we have a fruitful and engaging discussion that benefits the people that are watching us.
Thank you.
So let me start with Professor. Professor, there's a lot said about religious institutions, religious leaders. We have many of them here from different sects. But what's the role of religious institutions in nation building?
Wow. Thank you very much, Timothy, and good evening, our viewers. Yeah, the role of the church or the role of religious institutions. First of all, we have to know that most of the religious institutions predate the nation state as we know it today. So there were the forms of organization, there were the forms that provided social welfare to people. So most of the current state as we know it today came after religious institutions have been there, because religious institutions came in earlier as a way of organizing life, and from there, of course, as the society became more sophisticated, we see the state as it is today. So one, the religious institutions have anchored what the state is today in terms of providing things like legislation, in terms of providing things like, guiding legislation by providing the moral values and the systems that the state aspires to. Because we know things like the law do not come from the abstract, they come from the social context in which they arise. So value systems and whatever a particular state stands for will always reflect what that society looks like. And a lot of what that society looks like is communicated through their religious practices. So if you go, for example, to Saudi Arabia, you will know that a lot of the laws that come from there will in a way mirror. If you go to the Western world, the kind of laws you see there also mirror their kind of society. And a lot of this is anchored within the religious institutions. So religious institutions anchor society and therefore anchor the state that comes out of that society. But also they provide the moral compass to which can contribute to guiding the state on a moral path beyond what we consider the secular. But of course, when people ask the role of the state, of religion in nation building, most of the time it is raised as if, what should the church contribute today? What should the mosque contribute today? What I'm saying is that they are already contributing. But a lot of the time when that question arises, it's because the state thinks religious institutions are not doing enough. So we don't know whether they are not doing enough, but they are here, they'll speak for themselves. We who observe think they are doing enough. They provide welfare, they provide comfort and support. You know, in our country, we don't have a social welfare system. So that social welfare system most times is provided by religious institutions. If you've lost a person, they are the ones that check on you. If there's a kind of social adversity, that's where we all tend to run. So they help us to become resilient. They help us to cope with bad times. And you cannot underestimate that kind of value. But also they give you with a moral direction. They give people a network. They give people a social system, social capital with which to organize. But I know the state oftentimes has wanted them to do more. And this sometimes comes up when the state feels the religious institution is undermining state systems, but sometimes maybe religious leaders are simply demanding accountability. And religious leaders are very respectable people. They have a platform many of us do not have. And that when they preach, those who believe in them follow. So sometimes they, when in the process of giving us moral guidance, they will talk about vices which are happening in society. And sometimes these vices are propagated within state institutions such as the executive, if they're talking about corruption in the local government. So it ends up appearing like they are critiquing the state, and sometimes people say they should be doing more in terms of nation building. Sometimes that question comes up when religious leaders are being called upon to build more unity, okay, other than being more divisive. And I know of recent religious institutions in Uganda, I think have tried to be more cohesive, but I know there are places where there are divisions in tribe, there are divisions in religion, and sometimes religious institutions are blamed for this. So I think they are doing more, but maybe they can do more.
Okay, thank you very much. Apostle Grace, she spoke about the moral compass, something I've heard you speak about on several occasions, but also yesterday you were part of the consecration. Is that a reflection of what the population is feeling right now? Are religious institutions doing enough?
Yes, and I'll ultimately have to go back to that question. I think everybody recognizes that human beings are human beings. We're all imperfect beings in creation. So ultimately the question, even to those who don't believe in God, is do we have evil in the world? Does evil exist in the world? Yes. You know, the perversions we see in society, the drug addictions that we see, terror, and many other things, all of these are a reflection of evil. But for you to be able to say that you're going to judge what is evil, it means that innately you have a definition of what is good. You know, because you cannot judge evil when you don't know what is good. But again, we believe that it's not in man to actually judge what is evil, what is good, except there is a moral law, what she was saying. And that's important, because if there is a moral law, then there should be a moral law giver. You know, because again, we are talking about society here, but we're also cognizant of the fact that there are many people out there who don't even believe in God. You know, so then if we don't believe in God, firstly, how then do we even judge what is evil and what is good? If I don't have a moral law or a moral lawgiver, then there is no reason for me to judge what is evil and what is good. That's why religion, faiths come in. Faiths come in firstly to help us understand, one, that there is evil and good. Why? Because we have a moral compass, and man cannot have their own moral compass unless there is a moral lawgiver. We must also admit that we're in a society where people are dealing away with God, trying to disprove him through many other means, which is absurd. And consequently, it's the reason why crisis, we see many crises in the world, because people are dealing away with God. If you see many of the nations across that are taking the faith out of the equation, either from the education systems, you know, our business systems, you know, legislative systems. The moment you deal away with God, you're actually going to birth more crisis. So we also want to recognize that sometimes when government or states are working with these religious institutions, they must recognize the importance, their importance and their place. She said something very important here, that there's a young man right now in my head I know, who, if he had not known this way of the truth, he should be probably a thug somewhere on Ginger Road trying to kill somebody. For me, as a pastor or any of these ministers that you see here, to be able to appeal to that conscience and give it some sort of direction in life to know that this is the way to go, you know, that ultimately, for me, in my heart, I believe we're getting somewhere. But you also asked this issue of the consecration. I think for me, it's spelling some sort of order. You know, it's not really the artifacts, the things we see that are done within the process, but the place of order and the unity that is so much desired in the diversions that we're starting to see, you know, in society while the crisis still exists. So I think for me, that place where people are able to come together and say, we have a certain order, we are choosing certain leaders to direct us, to, you know, to comfort us, to hold us accountable, you know, in the course of executing our duties. I believe that we are on the right path. So as Professor Sarah has said rightly, that any nation that deals away or esteems lightly, like we have seen most secular societies, unfortunately in Western countries, whenever you deal away with the faith, you're actually bound to have more crisis. The question is, how do we come through these things? Lastly, I think before you take it to the next speaker, I'll give you examples of churches or ministries I know, ourselves inclusive, where, for example, every week we are in prisons, you know, trying to do our own part in rehabilitating these people we've lost on a weekly basis. You know, these churches feed orphans and widows. Even in COVID, we did the same. Up to Gulu, where we picked young children and worked with the Irene Gleason Foundation to make sure that these children get some food. You could ask, I think, make some research on the budget of government on nodding disease and find out how many people have actually been actively supporting nodding disease patients in the north. You'll find that churches have actually, including ourselves, have actually been very active entities in trying to build this nation. We are doing our part.
And speaking with you, Apostle Grace, you said the moral giver and the compass. Who is the moral giver? Who gives the morals here? Because the Bible seems to be the compass and the Quran. But who gives this moral? Who gives it the gist that it needs to have?
God. That's why we're saying that we have to have a conversation of God in society. Yet we are living in a society that is trying to do away with God, as if God does not exist. We're living in societies, and some of us who have been studying West Africa, Western nations, we see that they are trying to disprove the existence of God. And I'm saying that's the danger. If you say God does not exist, so you're saying there is no moral giver. If there is no moral giver, there is no moral law. If there is no moral law, then you cannot judge what is evil and what is not. That is why you see now in West Africa, in these nations, they are now defining marriage differently. Because I mean, I can choose my own way. If I think that a man is a woman or a woman is a man, I mean, you can't define that for me. You see?
Thank you very much, Apostle. I'll be coming back to you, something that you have tickled. Let me come to Reverend Geoffrey. When we look at the moral compass, the moral law, and we reflect on our country, the Resurrection Church is one of the longest serving, especially in areas that I have seen it in. What is the identity of our country, and who gives it identity?
Thank you, Timothy. The challenge, if you see the evolution of nations, right from the book of Genesis in chapter 11, God's plan is that people exist in nations. Nations with common identity in terms of language, history, and aspirations. If you have a nation without a dominant definition of such a nation in terms of faith, in terms of aspirations, where you have a common direction that nation is going, you'll have a multiplicity, a cocktail of ideas. Like Uganda, one of the challenges we have is, I don't think we are a nation yet. We're a country which doesn't even speak a common language. So you have these many groupings that are in the geographical area called Uganda. But in terms of culture, in terms of faith, in terms of, we are still working at it, forging it, but we are not yet there. Identity of Uganda, we have aspirations, we have objectives in our national constitution, which are good, which are ideal, but I don't know how many know even about them. They're in English, we haven't translated them into our local languages. How many Ugandans have actually read the constitution and have internalized it? So, in a way, we are still scattered in terms of thinking. We should be grouped together to forge a common direction. And one of the important rallying point is faith. If you don't have a dominant faith guiding or becoming the meta-narrative or being the ideological compass, you are going to have challenges rallying together to move in a certain direction because you don't even agree on which direction to move.
Reverend, you spoke about a nation and a country. What's the difference?
A country and a nation. Country, geographical area, but a nation are a people.
A oneness of people?
Yes.
If we lack identity, do we have values?
Yes, we do. These people we have different values. The anchor points are what is different. Do you know the way you've assembled us here and the way you've defined Uganda in the introduction? This percentage are Christian, this percentage are Muslim. Even within the Christian fraternity, we have our own individual denominational differences and emphasis. But generally, we are Christian, we are Muslim, we are other. That other is another category. So, once you don't have an ideological dominant direction or culture in terms of numbers, which forms the ethical foundation of a country, and you are still debating, you are not yet there.
Reverend, just you talk about identity and values, and we're not yet there. But a country like the US, they have principles. Wouldn't those principles galvanize a country to become a nation?
The US, on the surface, they have the predominant Protestant ethos that forms the foundation for business, for politics, for education. In Uganda, we have been attempting, we are not yet there. But the US also, internally, they have very, very serious contradictions, especially dealing with the indigenous people who were suppressed, who are trying to come up, but the popular media may not pick them. But generally, the US has a Christian, Protestant, ideological framework which guides the politics, at least for the last 400 or so years.
Okay, let me come to Sheikh Juma. Sheikh, looking at the moral compass, looking at we a country and not a nation, and when you look at Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, where you are from, does this country, have you had any impact on the population in this country as a fraternity or as a body?
Yeah, thank you, moderator. I do not want to look at this matter in an abstract way. I want us to look at the reality of our country, Uganda. People refer to Uganda as a secular country. But when I look at the composition of the people in Uganda, I look at Uganda as a multi-religious country. There is nobody you can find in any sphere of life without a religion, in most cases. He is either Catholic or a Protestant or born again or a Muslim. That is our composition. If you look at our national anthem, you will see that Uganda is a godly country. That we say, oh Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hands, which means we accept God. Now that's where now the issue of the role of religious bodies. What is the role of the religions in the, do we affect, do we influence the behavior of the people in our country? To what extent? I think we should, I want to look at it in that, in that perspective. You find that there is need of a cooperation between the flag, the cross, and the crescent. If that cooperation is set well and we move together, then I think most of the issues that we are talking about would not happen. You see, we are becoming like religious leaders in Uganda are becoming like the story of Jonah. When Jonah went to his people to Nineveh and they were not listening to him, there was a difference between what he says and what people are doing. He thought the people are wrong. And he decided to move away from the people, thinking that actually God will punish them for not listening to him. But instead, God punished him for not doing what he's supposed to do. Because when leaders fail to solve a problem, the problem becomes the leader and the leader becomes the problem. And that is exactly what is happening in Uganda today. I want, you see, when you open on news, you find in most cases you hear about ghost schools, ghost teachers, ghost districts. There's in Tungamo, there's ghost
health workers,
ghost ghost circles. You understand? Now ask yourself, are these people, are these ordinary people, ordinary peasants doing that? No. You'll find that these are the cream of the nation. They are people who hold very important responsibility in this country. Look at the Karamoja Mabatis. Are these done by young people because they are poor? No. These are senior citizens doing all this. But why all this? To me, I want to go back to our education system, because there is a common say that a nation cannot be more better than it is education system. So if you look at all that is happening, then you think there is a problem with our education system. Why? Because our education system is not prepared to develop the hearts of the people. It is only prepared to develop the domain, the intellect domain, the brain of the people. And yet brain is limited to 5 senses. To see, to hear, to smell, to taste, and to feel. Beyond this, the brain doesn't go there. So we have, our system should be able to touch the brains of the people, but also touch the hearts. But you'll find that religious education, which is supposed to mold the morals of the people, is considered optional. While other subjects are considered compulsory. You go to class when it is time when it's time for biology, chemistry, you find a lot of students. When it comes to IRE, CRE, you find very few students, and others are outside. What are you doing outside? No, we are not. It is optional. We don't take it. And this is what is building the morals of the people. So now you find, what is the problem? Is it religion which is lacking in the people, or people lacking in the religion? Understand? So that is where the problem is. So you find that our children are allowed to grow in the religion, but religion is not allowed to grow in our children.
Interesting.
Wow.
Let me bring in Reverend Diana. Something he said that really caught me, and I think all the panelists have hinted on it: influence.
Yes.
A podium that the church, the mosque, religious institutions have. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, have they become events? Are you still relevant? Are you still meaningful? Or the salt has left you as religious leaders?
Well, thank you, Timothy, for that question. And indeed, you are talking about the church or the religious institutions as the salt of the earth, and that the intention is to impact people, and it's morally. From the Christian faith, I believe Jesus was a revolutionary. He started from the transformation of the mind, right? To not be conformed to the patterns of this world, be transformed, and so that you can prove what is right and what is good and what is evil. And that transformation is being limited in our small structures in which we have been given space to speak. But there is a church outside the walls. And part of our lack of influence is that every week we're impacting a church that comes to us. Right? But of recent, and this is where I am at the moment, I'm recently retired, early retirement. It's a choice. Because during COVID, I recognized that there's a church outside the walls of the building that must be reached, that must hear, that must be impacted, that must be influenced. The church, I believe, as all the others have said, I mean, the education system came through us, the hospitals came through us, because actually I don't know why we are only discussing Uganda's adversity. You talked about global adversity, and we're a global community now. When I preach, any of us here bring a word, remember our children have access to social media and the rest of the world's influences, right? As a nation, what are we promoting? Our children now know more about their rights than their responsibilities. And so, yes, in a way, we don't have our heads in the sand. I think we need to challenge ourselves to address the issues of the church outside the walls. And you talk about percentages. We are aware there are 83%
Christians in Uganda. But there are those who are in love with the ideas and the ways of Christ, and there are those who are living them out in terms of impacting the nation. And so for us as religious leaders, we have a platform, right? We have a platform, and we address those who come to us. And we expect that when Timothy comes to UBC, and so is working with children living with HIV, that they are living out these values, these morals, and emphasizing, for me, my faith emphasizes right relationships. And I think most of the adversities that are around us are because we are premised on very poor relationships. We despise one another. We are fighting for power, for recognition, for status quo, for different things, and we've lost the focus for which our faith is central to our faith. It's about right relationships. It's about lifting up the dignity of others. It's about empowering others to go and live. And I think we've become quite self-centered. It's about my church. Let's repent. Yes, it's about my church. But like I said, for me, COVID, one of the adversities we had, which is global, was an eye-opener for me. And there is a church outside that the church came for. I mean, the reason the church exists is for that church outside its walls. And maybe we are failing to impact. Also, I think we're being limited in a way because people, I remember, I'm very practical, I'm a storyteller. I remember once my husband asked me, I was teaching a group beading, and he said, "Is this what you're going to do for the rest of your life?" But for me, it was about the impact of those people who were jobless and the conversations we were having round the table that were transforming their lives for the better, and for them to rise up and grow in their dignity and in their strength. I can see I could go on and on, but I agree that there have been weaknesses, but also the influences around us. We are contending with a lot more than just Uganda. We're in Uganda, but a child is living as if they're in the States, with the States' values, with gender identity confusion, with, I mean, if you have to look for your child who you've taken to a good school like Nabingo, and you're looking for your S2, and you find her at the airport. Her dream is out there, and she doesn't even recognize that she's being trafficked. There's a whole new area that needs to be addressed even as the church, because what is happening around us is very different from what happened when the gospel came to us, and we were just building up structures and nations and values. Now, rights have become a big thing.
and let me stay with the two of you, and you have hinted on something that also I'd like Apostle Grace, when I get to him, to be able to respond to. Factions. Isn't the religious institution or institutions tearing the body apart? Especially when you look at, we belong to this faction, the number of people you want in your church. Basically, the pressure is on the number of people you have to have in your church. Which faction do I sit in? What kind of car do I drive as a religious leader? Here we have Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, but we have the Gaddafi wing, we have the Chibuli wing. Aren't you the people causing the pain to Ugandans, especially tearing them apart with these different factions over status, materialism. I'll start with you, Doctor, then come to Sheikh Juma.
Thank you for calling me doctor, but it's not my title.
Sorry,
I'm canon. I'm canon if you want to give me some status, but it's okay. People usually call me Rev D. And by the way, it's purposeful when I call myself Rev D. I want to be approachable. I want to impact anybody in the community. You're right.